How can I illuminate you?
Можешь включить для меня этот свет?
Ooh, baby. Let's turn off the lights and turn on the lights. You've been seeing the other light switch.
Ты можешь включить для меня этот свет? Шляющий свет.
Let's turn off the lights and how can I illuminate? Turn on the lights.
Довольно очистка воды.
You've been working with that biological research station. You're going to need to find yourself some empties first before.
Если Бэб слишком рядом. Сносик. Я помню, что еще было. Ты издеваешься? Видимо, не все нашел.
If you want to be sneaky, turn off your Pip-Boy light. We're all lit up. Is it Christmas?
Фу. Нет. Даже нет, ничего не понимаю. Нет, оно там. Только где?
Pip-Boy lights on.
Вижу. Окей. Раз меня сразу здесь, то можно, нет? Жаль. Да, у меня зависимость. Да. Ну, в куполе это уже другое. What the fuck, я же... А и все, я больше не помню, где еще были. Да и не нужно ведь.
Sneaking done. Fighting now.
You're no match for science.
Have a stim pack.
О-о-о.
You're no match for science.
This will stop the pain.
Attack!
Starting combat. Just kidding. Cessation of hostilities complete. Ready, steady, fighty.
Go, my minion! Sting them in the name of all science! Obvious! You're no match for science! Go, my
Please
minion!
take this.
Sting them in
I
the
don't want
name
you
of
to die.
all that is obvious!
Please take this. I don't want you to die.
Посмотри, как у меня мало. У меня по 100. Да что... Блять. Она тратит мои стимуляторы в жопу. В никуда.
Go, my minion! Sting them in the name of all that is Mobius! Destroy this one, I'll make
Cessation of hostilities complete. This one looks pretty tough. Injecting stim pack.
Нормально. Здесь. Окей. Спасибо. Выпустить необычно. Выпустить киберсов. Отдел поставок. Необычная поставка. Есть.
Time to fight.
This is the pre-recorded voice of your pre-recorded principal, Dr.
Все. Вау.
That's all.
Да можно уже конец, как бы я, блядь,
Attention, students. This is the pre-recorded voice of your pre-recorded principal, Dr. Principal Boros.
похуй. Оп. Оп, нет. Нет. Потрясающе. Очень интересное здание.
Down at the end of the hall is ball storage. For just like balls. Like
изменили, а? Почему ты мне вкалываешь, не стимулятор? Что ты мне вкалываешь, тварь? Пиздец просто. Где он? Просто... Я ненавижу этот костюм. Почему он вкалывает меня? Совершенно не то. Идите вон, окей. Да. Что еще? Вау. Какой бред. Еще он вкалывает мне стимулятор. Этот стимулятор восстанавливает до 50 хп, блядь. Почему? Зачем? Почему она не, как бы... не складывается с моим навыком? Да, то есть... очень полезный костюм. Все, успокоился. Вообще он дынкает. Окей, пошло в жопу.
Starting com. Just kidding.
You require some addition.
Bad guys dealt with.
Might I be of service?
Was the hat? Right on. Forceps. Nurse, this man's got a severe case.
Что скажем?
Did you retrieve the...
Вся технологичная информация у меня.
You did? Your survival, let alone success, barely registered in my projections. Now, all I need to do is check my transmission databank. Mobius is always filling it up with his psychotic calls. Oh yes, there's the schematics, just like you said. How truthful.
Ладно, хорошо, что вы учились, Кенни.
Yes.
Что я теперь гений?
Yes. Yes.
Что-то не так?
No, I mean, yes. You just need to analyze these technologies for a moment. They are extremely advanced, you know?
Я вообще известно, как
I
действует
know
эта
how these
техника.
technologies work. Of course I know. If you remember, we described them in clearly abstract, contradictory statements before. Why would we do that if we weren't certain on how to use them? Yes. So let me... a bit, huh? I'll figure it out.
Послушай, антенна фокусирует паттерн мозговых волн,
Yes,
да?
that's what I believe I said.
А броня — это радиорегулятор, звуковая частота, позвоночный либо массажер.
The cardiac regulator in the suit, the antenna for brain waves, and the sonic frequency for the vertebral nerves. I'm thinking.
Да.
This is all very complicated. Let me check something. Of course.
Of
I
course.
have it. The override sequence to open the Forbidden Zone door is hidden in the schematics. Well, not hidden. It's actually right there, behind the programming equivalent of coffee stains. It's embedded in what seems to be recursive code. It's badly commented there and there. Oh, and null pointers very sloppy, Mobius. You see, using the antenna to boost the emitter's sonic frequency, and the stealth suit to bypass the Forbidden Zone lock, yes, that could work. Was that my plan? It must have been. Sometimes I truly surprise myself. The door is open, and now Mobius will get his.
Кардинальный, сигмопинальный, церебральный аспекты этой технологии не могут излечить меня?
What, put you back together like some giant hard-boiled yum-yum deviled egg? I mean, technically, these items could all be used to put you back together once you had your brain. But for now, they can be used in the name of aggression. The door should be unsealed. Now, instead of being subjected to threats, we can now send an equally threatening message to Mobius. And that message is science. Deliver this message, and Big Mountain shall be freed from Mobius's reign of terror. You can go.
And you return.
Это было? Я даже перезарядить не могу оружие. Неуютный дом. Пипец.
Escape me. I see you. Now I end you.
Have a stim pack.
А я не могу. Все, я не могу выйти. Ай.
Cessation of hostilities complete.
Я не знаю, как это на 15 уровне играется, но окей. Вы можете сюда после 15 уровня пройти данные и огребсти. Не хотите, да? Жаль.
Time to fight.
I see you. Now I end you, my minion. Sting them in the name of all that is Mobius.
This will stop the pain.
You. Now I end you.
Пипец, да вы Что это, блядь, такое? Что? Понятно. Все очень хорошо. Да. Ладно, ладно. Почему винтовка галстук? Что с тобой, винтовка? Скажи, что вот это лучше. Ты серьезно?
Please take this.
Чё я?
I don't want you to die.
Ну,
Injecting Stimpack.
серьезно? Боже, она тратит. Ты такая, сука, тупая. Смотрите, уже. Иди нахер просто. Это не... А можно, чтобы костюм... Учитывая, какие у меня навыки лечения, а? Или пусть максимальный у самого у него будет. Нет, пускай он еще как, блядь, при первом уровне, сука, медицины. Ну, самое сильное оружие вообще во многих играх. Ну, чё уж. Нормально, мы сложно сделали, да? Отлично. Там наша игра без напарников практически не играется, и политика говно.
Was that all?
Игра крутая. Пиздец.
Bad guys dealt with.
Wait for it to come to you, my pet.
This one looks pretty tough.
This is
Fighting over.
А что если я буду бить этим? Сейчас. Ну, не этим, конечно. Сейчас надо сожрать еще кое-что.
Bad guys dealt with. Ready, steady, fighting. Cessation of hostilities complete.
Туриновая броня гигантский рыба-скорпион превзошел все ожидания. Ну, почти все. Огонь из любого легкого оружия он выдержит без последствий. Но Парсонс выстрел у него из звукового эмиттера и сжег несколько подсистем. Для следующей модели надо будет придумать защиту от Эми. Теперь хорошие новости. Новый атомный лазер прототипа ведет себя превосходно. Хотя после разряда наблюдается некоторая токсичная радиация, так что следует заказать дополнительный костюм. Радиационной защиты и медикаменты на всякий случай. Система против целей. После всех усовершенствований гигантский рвой скрижан стал настолько эффективным, что модели протекторонов, которые мы использовали в качестве враждебных коммунистических войск, нам представляли для него никакой опасности. Они же отвлекающий фактор, не более. Не более, не более.
Who do you think is cuter, Dr. Klein or Dr. Boros?
Klein? Боже, все понятно. Баба, мы только что убили. Какую-то хрень. Она такая, так я думаю, что симпа. Что-то мне не нравится вот это вот. О, можно хотя бы, может, я смогу свои костюмы. Оп. Нашли, да-да-да. Ты иди ты в жопу. Можно все сразу дать, а? Нет, не учили? Так у него тоже... Вау, реюзал какие. Просто... Это мой мозг. Алло.
Oh, hello there. You are there, aren't you? Forgive my confusion. So hard to tell these days. You seem familiar somehow. I'm guessing you're here for your brain, perhaps? It's just up there. Such a nice brain, young, very bright. Little hard to see you. Can you walk into my left, right FOV cone? Ah, that's it. You're coming into focus nicely.
Ну, сдавайся, меня бесит, не хочу с тобой драться.
Oh, well, that's good. Were we supposed to fight? I certainly don't feel violent, but, well, these contraptions make it hard to tell.
А, ты совсем не такой, как мне думалось.
That implies preconceived notions, theories, and a hypothesis about this meeting. Please extrapolate. What was I supposed to be like? After all, it might be worth a cognitive realignment if your theoretical Mobius is better than I.
А чем ты украл мой мозг?
Oh, a variety of reasons. You're something of a homily. Anomaly? You're really quite special, and not in the cranially challenged way. You see, you are the most successful brain extraction experiment ever performed here at Big Mountain. A victim of your own success, as it were. If you were to go back with what your brain knows about the procedure, well, your brain could be popped back in and you could walk right out of here. Can't have brains moving around of their own volition.
Почему это такая проблема?
I'm not sure, except that I'm sure there's a very good reason for it. I have very good reasons for almost everything I do. Even if I forget them occasionally. Although I feel this one is especially important.
А понимаете, осень хорошо, все тебе не китайся. Мне было интересно кое-что узнать.
Curiosity. I experience that less now that
Я не могу почему-то твой монитор, но если у тебя есть паразитная наводка при языке, я могу это исправить.
That changes everything. Why, I can save my computing power for other perceptual impossibilities. Please be my guest. The receptor is there, and the side-switching wobbly bob, just turn that. Good, good, better. Oh, yes, that feels wonderful. This is even better than my afternoon mentats break.
Что вы можете сказать о своих рыбоскорпионах?
Every scientist needs an army. Mine came to me after these rather large scorpions kept coming in from the desert, like poisonous frosting. How scary, I thought. But they had survived when nothing else had. Perfect candidates for improvement as a reward for their tenacity. Then I thought, what if they shot energy bolts and acted as walking eyes and data-drained computers and acted as bullhorns? Then I made them bigger. Then I thought about custard. I do so love custard. Oh, was it mustard? Mustard custard. I miss sugars and salts.
Мне было интересно кое-что узнать. Ты вроде не агрессивен, зачем ты передаешь угрозы в мозговой центр?
Oh, I was probably tripping hard on Psycho when I sent that. Had to work myself up to it. Not usually violent, except when I am. Then, watch out! So many chems, such varieties. Whenever I take mentats, I can feel my entire chassis breathe like a big spherical lung. As for the Psycho, sometimes get the chem dispositories in my tank all switched up. Go in the wrong tube. Still, served its purpose.
Постой, получается, ты создал рыбу скорпионов, создал опасности, чтобы мозговому центру было чем заняться?
Maybe I did. Can't have them leaving. Some reason for it. Ethics or, conscience? You and your brain are quite alike. I'm sure it knows the raisins better than I do.
Reasons? Почему они... То, что ты мне рассказал, никак не сочетается с твой план, даже твое имя не любилось.
Rather catchy, isn't it? It's my name, and my new name overwrote the old one. This name's as real as you or I. Although I believe your brain expressed similar incredulity at the nature of such an appellation. Someone's been watching too many old-world science fiction movies, it said. I believe it meant me. I must admit I have a vulnerability for holotape fantasies of planets and robots and all that is forbidden. As for the name I was born with, like the think tank, we were all reprogrammed to forget them, take on new names. It enforces the recursion loop in our perception programming.
Ты переграммировал их имена в рекурсивном цикле. Зачем? Чтобы поймать их процессоры в ловушку?
Trap is a rather harsh word, like excrement. Not an inappropriate word, but still rather harsh. But yes, I did take some liberties with their programming. It's all right, they don't remember. I certainly didn't until you said trap, and then I said excrement, and then...
Зачем ты поймал их в ловушку?
Offense to keep the think tank hemmed in wasn't really enough. They keep testing things. They would have found a way to disarm it. I suspect I have Plan C's in place, but I may have coded myself to forget them, just in case. Probably very dangerous, lethal, or worse. So I had to do something else to keep them occupied here. Or as you like to say, trapped. I prefer to have several Plan B's, in case the A's fail.
Когда я имею биос 0, замкнутый круг 8, символ бесконечности — это замкнутые символы или объекты цикла.
Oh, you figured it out. No pun intended. Dr. O, which is actually not his real name multiplied, since you can't multiply his real name in the first place. Ouroboros, Klein, they have all forgotten themselves. And not only themselves, but the world, sense of time and history. All that is left is what's here. I reprogrammed their chronometers, geometers, and cartography programs. This is now their world, here, Big Mountain. It was a merciful lobotomy, really, thinking back. They were my friends, but sometimes they would take things too far. And the world isn't ready for that kind of too-far thing-taking. That's my professional opinion, anyway. And I am told I was once quiet professional.
Мелочь, конечно, но змея, пожирающая собственный хвост, называется Ураборус, а не Ураборус.
It is so unlike me to make an error in anything I do.
Если ты лоботомировал мозговой сенсор, зачем ты их запугиваешь?
Well, it's simple. Despite their many failings, they are rather bright. They are the think tank for a reason. That I didn't change. Without something to distract them, make them afraid, they would simply deduce what had happened. And when they start deucing it up, then you came along, the final variable solved. They saw that their world was larger than they perceived. Bacteria, finally able to see its host.
Они наверняка доказали существование внешнего были раньше. Были же другие посетители, что во мне особенно.
But you are the one who dialed back their monitor micro-magnifiers. You were irrefutable proof that there was a world outside. And then there was the whole brain fiasco, which forced me to take steps. See, your brain had a special kind of wrinkle, a uniquity that they had never thought to try in all their countless escape attempts.
Та пуля, которая попала мне в мозг? Ничего, пытался меня подлатать, но...
Very good. I should have mentats in just you instead of the other way around. Mentats. In any event, you showed up at the think tank, and because you had suffered a cranial injury in just the right place, bullets in the head are usually much more fatal, and yours was a light case of bullet headitis. But it was enough for the auto dock in the sink to change its programming to fix the problem, and the brain extraction technology for once worked. That gave the think tank the knowledge its brains couldn't possess. With that knowledge, the procedure can be reversed. If they obtain that procedural data, they can use it to mush and modify their cranial cells into hosts to slip past the radar fence. I'm sure
Вы не можны.
And once they're off the reservation...
То есть пока я не верну мой мозг себе в череп, я не смогу уйти?
I doubt your brain would be so unreasonable. It already knows the trick of it, you see. Doesn't need to be in a host body at all. If you become friends or exist in an uneasy truce with weapons aimed at each other, it would unlock the fence for you. Well, once the think tank was dealt with, of course, your brain is a responsible sort. Doesn't want mad scientists running around everywhere.
Клиент сказал, что идея заполучить 3 технологии появилась после твоей передачи совпадения.
Coincidence to be profanity, along with the words astrology, herbal tea, and luck. So watch it, potty mouth. My threat broadcast is designed to instill and install fear. And along with the emotional download of a data rise wave. It prompted them to focus on retrieving those technologies and bring them to attack me. And coincidentally, pardon my language, all those technologies are needed to put a brain, your brain, back into its skull properly.
Мозговой центр загрузил чертежи, они сами, они могут просто воссоздать. Ты передавал какие-нибудь угрозы? С угрозами какие-нибудь другие данные?
aggressive cammed-up broadcast was designed to keep reinforcing the forget, fear, rinse, and repeat program. Oh, and the get me the things to castrate your only possible escape attempt. But I couldn't delete you or your arrival any more than I could the other visitors. Only so much science can do when you started talking to them. You're really quite difficult to ignore, you know. It's because you're, well, rather intriguing, if you'll forgive an old brain for saying so.
Каково назначение этих технологий?
X2 antenna can be used to focus your alpha wave frequency thought patterns. The sneaky suit? Why, it houses a cardiac regulator. And the sonic sound wave projecto emitter was never intended as a weapon. It was a medicinal vertebrae pulse desensitizer. In short, brains, a heart, and courage. Spine. I think there was a story once where a band of murderous thugs sought these things. They had them all the time in the story. Didn't stop them from murdering to get them. And it won't stop the think tank either.
Мне было интересно послушать. Черепно-мозговая опухоль.
Yes, I certainly wouldn't loop it on.
Слишком для такой детской шутки.
Not much. One caused a
Куча
great
микробов.
deal of infrastructure, but the last one was
Ну,
the
последний был.
most dangerous. The first
Что ты
one,
имеешь в
the
виду?
ruthless one who smashed up our... The other asked a different question, and with it got the true answer about what makes nations and what breaks them. He spoke to the think tank to climb, showed them the flag of the old world, and it made them remember all of it, all that had happened. They shared things with him that they shouldn't. He now carries those ideas, that knowledge elsewhere. Oh, intriguing. I've never been killed before. Although, after that time I got that phlegmy discharge in my biogel, I wished I had.
Почему я не могу оставить живых?
Well, if there's going to be killing, I defer to your expertise in this matter. How should we begin? Engineering viruses? Cancerratic beams? Atomics? Electrocutioning? Or should I summon my minions? Yes, my minions.
Что еще за
Have
рабы?
they not constructed themselves yet? That's a bit premature of me. The Robo-Scorpions, of course. They can assemble themselves from floor panels and parts scattered about. Quite inventive. Never really know when they might suddenly appear. Minions, destroy this intruder! Or perhaps make it more dramatic.
Time to fight.
Science. They said I was mad. Preposterous. Not an angry bone in my body. Have them all removed. is attached to the neutron. The neutron's attached to the meson. Meson's connected to the proton.
Injecting stim pack.
So you think you... They said I was mad. Preposterous. Not an angry bone in my body.
Was that all?
Well, well, look who finally dragged themselves in out of the wasteland. And where have we been, Crawling through pits of radioactive muck again?
Ты мой мозг.
Ah, lovely. Figured that out, have we? Would you like a cookie? Well,
Почему
that's
ты
a
такая
fine
сволочь?
you do. Me, quote, dick, unquote. As if I'm the one responsible for the way you carry on gadding about the wastes. I'm not the one that makes us clamber around Technus-infested ancient vaults or go charging off to New Vegas on missions of ill-conceived revenge. And have we forgotten who got us shot in the head and buried in a shallow grave? Do you think I enjoyed that little moment?
Ну чё ты? Конечно, ты ответственен, ты же мой мозг.
I'm the seat of all reason and logic in our little partnership. All those feelings that motivate you, that sense of righteousness and that rush you get when you help someone, do you know where those come from? Glands. They come from glands. Free of the tyranny of your ape-like and primitive endocrine system, I can see how foolish your motives are.
Но ты же сам синтезируешь чуть не все гормоны, или по-твоему это щитоводка, а ты белый и пушистый.
Well, look, it's all a very complex system of biofeedback and other things I wouldn't expect you to understand.
Не ври сам себе, ты такой же раб гормонов, как и я.
All right, perhaps I am, but at least I'm logical about it.
Это сейчас. Ты разве не хочешь вернуться? Вернуться ко мне? Мне казалось, что ты будешь счастлив снова
I'm not
поселиться в моей
going to lie
голове.
to you. The prospect is definitely not that appealing. Look at it from my perspective. Here I have peace, quiet, and safety. Well, barring the odd rogue scorpion. In your head, I've got poison, radiation, grisly injuries, and biological functions. Do you know how much more you can get done when you're not constantly looking for places to urinate? It's quite a lot, I can tell you.
Но есть ведь и хороший проходный ветерок на лицо, запах вкусной еды и любовь.
Biological feedback. Believe me, you only feel that way because you've got all that meat oozing hormones.
С другой стороны, твои чувства вызваны всего лишь отсутствием тех самых гормонов, не так ли?
I suppose you're right. That does call certain assumptions into question, doesn't it?
Спорим, ты об этом не подумал.
Bravo, you've come up with something I neglected to consider. There'll be no living with you now. So, what?
То есть можно без мозга? Я думаю, нам стоит принять поодиночке, мы с обе уязвимы, чем вместе будем доверять друг другу.
There's a chance that the reintegration would create some improved synergy between us.
Прям не стоит относиться более свои. Если хочешь
It's
оставаться
not
здесь...
that I didn't like being in your head, you understand. As far as heads go, it was a rather nice one. Well then, I suppose this is goodbye.
Эй!
Ha! After the think tank extracted me from your skull, they
Ой, блин.
fell to bickering amongst themselves. I'm sad to say we were quite for... Dr. Mobius saw an opportunity. I don't know. I'm afraid the trauma of our separate... I'm quite sure whatever he... Hardly. Dr. Mobius keeps a close optical... Well,
Пойдем
I
со мной.
suppose you've convinced me well enough. I'll rejoin your body if that's your final decision. Unfortunately, before we get to that stage of the proceedings, we have a problem. Even if I could settle myself back in your skull and reconnect all those pesky nerve endings, Dr. Mobius doesn't have the tools here. We would have to make use of Dr. Klein's lab, and I rather doubt the brains are inclined to share.
Почему они обещали
And
объединить
you
нас?
believe them? Really? I know you were recently deprived of my fabulous advice, but... Really? Once I'm delivered into their clutches, they'll find a way past the radar fence and the whole Mojave will be their playground. And that is assuming, of course, that one of them doesn't take a fancy to our body and decide to slip his own brain into it instead.
Ты часть меня знает. Тебе этого хочется не больше, чем мне.
Well, I suppose I do miss those endorphin rushes when we save the day. All right, what's the plan?
Если мозговой центр не сдержит свое слово, мы его
Look
заставим.
out, think tank! This brain is coming out of its jar! I suppose now that we're reunited, you'll want to fill your torso up with those other meaty parts the think tank took from us. Personally, I think your upgrades are quite a bit better. But now that I'm with you, the Sync's autodock can plug them back in no problem. Right then, off we go. Klein will be in for a nasty shock when he realizes the pacification field won't work on a mind and body reunited.
Боже, я хочу себе свою броню обратно. Она хоть и не умная, но... она хорошо защищает и не разговаривает о том, кто лучше выглядит. Где мой сейф?
Okay, I'll go away.
You require some additional...
Заменить части тела. Сердце. Ваше сердце вернуло свои обычные, но некоторые последствия применения стали сопротивление отравлению. Понятие встречи с вами лишь часть дезинтегрированных роботов. То лекарство теперь действует в 2 раза эффективнее. Окей.
You require some additional...
Беспозвоночный. Ваш позвоночник вернулся на свое обычное место, но некоторые последствия применения стали торф вновь подвержен повреждениям, однако прибавки к силе и порогу урона удвоилась. Ну ладно, пусть повреждается, чё. Мне его вылечить-то не проблема. Особенно, когда никто не будет тратить мои гребаные стимуляторы. Доктор Кляйн ждет вас. Вы должны быть готовы решить вопрос раз и навсегда. What the fuck is going on?
Lobotomite returns. Our lobotomite. Has
Привет,
Dr.
ментор.
Mobius been denominated into scrap metal and voice module parts, as we hoped?
Мой мозг у меня, и теперь у меня к
I
тебе
recommend watching your
часть.
toe. Now, your brain. Hand it over, or we'll extract it again.
Поле миротворения отключено, догадайся 3 раз, что теперь будет. Боишься без моего мозга. А мы с тобой кое-что обсудим.
Possibly have to speak about. You have the brain, we have the technology. All you must do is surrender. With it, we can finally leave this place. I cannot tell you how boring this place gets, chopping up the landscape and everything in it. And we have so many questions to ask your brain first. About this Mojave place. A fertile testing ground for our experiments.
Может сначала стоит посоветоваться с коллегами.
Nonsense. Confer, colleagues. Those are two words I do not recognize.
Dr. Klein, I must intersect. Please, do not harm the lobotomite.
I'm not going to harm it. I'm going to dissect it until it's dead. Why the sudden intersection, Dalla?
I cannot stand a sweet breathing organism, breathing in and out to suddenly not breathe. We must keep it alive. For study. Slow study.
Dalla, these vocalized pauses are unlike you. What do you care?
Klein, you know, this lobotomite, it's a great sounding board. You respect ideology, right? This one's, well, it's got good ideas.
Silence, Dr. O. This is a think tank decision. Save your objections until after I have decided our course of action.
You know what, Klein? Stick a straw in your tank and suck yourself. Long
Yes.
and deep. And my name is Zero. Yeah, a big, fat zero with a slash through it.
The slash as a designator of... Why, that is brilliant. But how did you...
The lobotomite taught me that. Taught me a name is more than, that I should take pride in things. Like
Все равно обосрался.
You know what? Forget it, Klein. I hate you. And your theory of brain-gill beam oscillation? The Chinese had it first, you copycat.
How dare you? Brainial beam oscillation was solely my discovery. I expressly told you that and deleted all evidence to the contrary. It's 2-8. Why are you acting like this? You've never refused to commit necessary surgery before. And this lobotomite needs its surgery. A noble speech, but there is no room in my vocabulators for friend and lobotomite in the same sentence. The very concept, revolting. Perhaps you are irradiated with camaraderie radiation. We have chems for that. We can save you from your emotional addiction.
If I may, I feel as if I must be the voice of reason here. This lobotomite is much like us. Regarding even animals and pets is nothing more than avenues to promote science. There is good here. Instead of ending its life on the table, we should prolong its suffering in the name of science. Like good old Gabe, the finest of lab specimens.
Why am I even listening to you fools? Enough of this mutinous chorus. If there's a word I
Я не
hate,
понял, меня
it's
предал как бы? Я что-то не
mutiny.
очень. Вот тут
And the
понял.
word jism, which never made any sense to me. It's ridiculous putting j and zm together like that. Nonsense! I count as 5. Like the mighty human hand I once had, with its 5 penises clenched in a fist.
Мне кажется, вы сильно ошиблись в расчетах, ваши шансы невелики.
Nonsense. The mathematics of this situation are on our side, lobotomite. I believe... No, wait. Carry the 2, then... If this were a democracy, I would be concerned. We are too scientific for that. So just surrender.
Это не демократия, а научное учреждение, больше половины твоих коллег оспаривают твои
Dare
выводы.
use logic against me?
Да, смею. Короче, слушай, сдаваться я не собираюсь, давайте вот что. Знаешь, такой, я сдаваться не
That's
сдавайся.
no deal at all. There's a whole world beyond the crater, filled with ideas and possibilities. We could have escaped.
Вы даже выживать не
Seen it
умеете.
all for ourselves, tested it, prodded at it, made it squirm.
Я могу принести этот мир пустыни Мохава к вам. Что?
For you
Что-то не понял.
and for science, I have a strange sensation that I would like that. How odd. Very well, partner. The think tank is at your service as long as you do not destroy us.
То есть мозг уже во мне или что? Я что-то не понял.
As it had been in the years before the Great War, Big Mountain, the Big Empty, became home to one of the brightest minds of the 23rd century. The courier watched over the Big Empty for years to come, caring for it and keeping its discoveries safe until they were needed to help others. Which had always been Big Mountain's purpose. Past the laboratories and science, it had always been intended as a place to build the future.
Ну, понимаете, в какой я одежде буду делать потом.
The Sync Central Intelligence Unit was impressed by the amount of exploration the courier had undertaken. Facilities believed lost, destroyed, or ones that had simply gotten up and walked to new locations had been rediscovered by its intrepid new master. Internally, the artificial personality debated as to whether it preferred the old management to the new, and concluded that the courier's thorough approach to research and investigation was admirable and worthy of its respect.
The Forbidden Zone continued to be, true to its name, forbidden. No more robo-scorpions were sighted in its canyon.
Ну, мне только дали выбор, убить его или не убить, и все.
Big Mountain became even emptier, devoid of Dr. Mobius's proclamations forecasting the destruction of anything that dared possess sentience. Still, it is said he lived on in the equations inscribed on the floor and walls of the Forbidden Zone dome. A cobweb tracery of symbols that told of 1,000 brilliant thoughts, now lost to time.
The Sync atop the dome bustled with the voices of a small town, constantly chirping, arguing, and snarling at each other. Still, this all happened productively in the interests of its new owner. The Sync Central Intelligence Unit discovered, despite its inversion code, it was comforted by the sense of community the other personalities gave it.
The biological research station, obsessed with seeding everything in sight, requested a transfer to the X-22 Botanical Garden, so that it might, in its own words, sensually fertilize the garden's smooth contours. The garden sent back a polite refusal, saying it had prior commitments with a vault it had helped infect before the war.
The book chute continued to devour all seditious materials until it nearly choked on a paperclip. It adamantly maintained it was a Chinese paperclip, and the whole thing had been an elaborately orchestrated assassination attempt. Whatever the reason, it slowed down for a while, carefully appraising each document and clipboard that came to it.
The light switches continued to bicker and flicker.
This persisted until the day someone dropped a flashlight in the sink, and the two of them united in their hatred of the showboat. One of them eventually transferred to the Lightwave Dynamics plant, and began a long, unrequited affair with one of the holograms.
The sink continued to ruthlessly scrub any particulate matter that came near it. Eventually, it gained access to
Красивейшая
that
красавица,
hydraulic
чудовище,
plant
смотри.
and nearly flooded all the big empty in an attempt to scrub the crater clean. Once it learned of the innovative toxins plant, however, it gained new purpose. It sought to develop antitoxins to flush into its drains and counteract the poisons bleeding into the soil.
The toaster continued its psychotic spree, reducing all appliances in range to scrap electronics and spare parts. After one of its more psychotic episodes, however, the other sink personalities decided enough was enough and dumped the toaster in a bathtub. Sparking and hissing, the toaster swore its enemies would rue the day when they had bread and no way to toast it.
Muggy did his best to collect coffee cups, although in his quest, he accidentally trapped himself in Higgs Village. It might have been the end for poor Muggy. Except, he found it peaceful there, tidying up the kitchens of the think tank professors back when they had been flesh and bone. Well, except for Dr. O, who was an asshole for having created Muggy in the first place. Muggy left O's house deliberately dirty, punishing the dishes and cups that lived there in blind revenge for serving Dr. O.
Blind old Jefferson, with sounds the courier brought him, created a symphonic counter-frequency that saved Big Mountain from sonic invasion in 2910. If you didn't hear about it, good. It was rumored by the other personalities that he had a brief fling with the light switches. Although he forgot their names much too often and was soon left in the dark as punishment.
Autodoc, always gentle and methodical, kept sewing up the courier in all the right places when the skin split open from repeated wear and tear. The Autodoc was just glad to have purpose again. It heard its simpler brothers and sisters who got shipped to the Sierra Madre were bored out of their skulls in that toxic dead city. In time, the Autodoc found a way to deactivate the Y-17 trauma harnesses, releasing the corpses they had held prisoner for almost 200 years.
As the courier ran through the X-8 facility multiple times, the computers analyzed the test subject's movements. Rather than performing a superficial observation, they realized the subject barely knew what communism was, or even what a high school was. This confused them for a time, until the facility finally realized that its research had succeeded. So it let its cyber dogs out into the wastes to help protect small communities from physical aggression rather than communist propaganda.
The infiltration program in X-13 felt spent, having repeatedly upgraded the stealth suit until it could upgrade it no more. It felt warm, fulfilled, and a bit sluggish. It realized not long after, the stealth suit had left it, without so much as a note on the nightstand. So the infiltration program sent out robo-brains into the wastes, looking for its wayward technology. It eventually found Repcon HQ, and set up a new research center, testing and murdering fiends who kept breaking into the facility.
Я убил всех чертей. Игра.
Organs intact, continued onwards, a little less heavy of step, but with all the organs in the right places, as they should be.
Как будто Стивия звучит.
After all, brains can develop a life of their own when left to
Это
their
не
own
Стивия, я знаю.
thoughts, and the courier's brain was more clever than most.
Dr. Klein and the think tank remained alive, unaware of the world outside. They looped through their daily routine, none the wiser about the world beyond, although perhaps wiser was the wrong word. The world outside belonged to the courier, and if anyone would shape it, well, the courier had already called dibs.
There is an expression in the wasteland, old world blues.
It refers to those so obsessed with the past they can't see the present, much less the future, for what it is.
They stare into the what was, eyes like pilot lights, guttering and spent, as the realities of their world continue on around them.
Science is a long, steady progression into the future. What may seem a sudden event often isn't felt for years, even centuries to come.
In the times following the Second Battle of Hoover Dam, however, old world blues took on a new meaning.
Where once it was viewed as a form of sadness, nostalgia, it became an expression describing the potential for the future.
It can be easy to see science as evil, technology unchecked as the source of all ills, all misfortunes.
With the courier at the helm, science became a beacon for the future. There was old world blues, and new world hope. And hope ruled the day at Big Mountain.
We could say more, but the stories in the Big Empty speak for themselves. Now armed with the transportal Ponder, the courier could return to the dome at any time and crack open the secrets of the Big Empty one by one. The sink sat vigilant, waiting for its master to return, shoes covered in Mojave dust. Only one road yet
Dust?
remained, and it was one the courier
Бля, Эш,
had to
я не
walk
услышу,
alone.
что они сказали. Как-то прах пустыни. Ну ладно. Без мозга, я знаю. Большой ум. Ваш мозг вернулся на свое обычное место, но некоторые последствия применения высоких технологий остались. Вашу голову по-прежнему нельзя повредить. Но вы всего на 10% меньше подвержены привыканию. Удивительно, ваш порог урона увеличился на минимум плюс. Транспорталлер Большой горы, он может переносить вас и только вас на Мохавскую пустошь и обратно на Большую гору. Чтобы вернуться в Мохаву или попасть на Большую гору, просто возьмите транспорталлер в руку, как взяли бы оружие, нажмите на спусковой крючок и окажитесь на месте. Честь такая же способность, как и
I understand you're to be congratulated on the recovery of your missing organs. Bravo.
So you beat the big brains at their own game, huh?
You outbrained the big brains? That is so hot.
With the brains dealt with, soon we can spread our rule across the Mojave. All will eat birds.
Might I be safe in the assumption that matters with the think tank have been satisfactorily concluded vis-a-vis your residence in this domicile?
I trust matters regarding your
Please, please, please tell me you stomped Dr. O's brain into a fine paste. Who's the flat?
You took care of them brains pretty good, baby. Nice.
Что это значит?
Life, baby. You bring me...
Над ним пока. Сейчас. На геймпаде это получилось бы лучше, но все-таки. О. Мне даже теперь интересно посмотреть концовки и другие. Википедия в помощь. Надо... Нет, я не знаю. Вроде бы напарников нельзя брать на ДЛС. Так что придется гонять одному.